This is episode 19 of The Art of Agency, a launchpad for realtors, with our guest, Conor Murnane. He is the founder of his new company, Video Launch, after 13 years in the Trulia Zillow cycle. Conor, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jonathan, man. Excited for this convo. Appreciate you having me, dude.
Yeah, me too. We were on Instagram Live together when you were doing those. That was like 18 months,
Yeah.
2 years ago about, right?
I want to say maybe even closer to 3 years, but exactly. That was definitely the very, very early days of me kind of jumping in, head first, or at least that was my version of trying to figure out this video stuff and, personal brand and, building the foundation of what's my business today, but essentially learning by doing. Yeah.
Yeah. At what point in your journey, when you were still working for Zillow Group, did you start to come up with this, with all of the video things that have led you to this company now?
So, I mean, there's a ton here, right? But a lot of things that come to mind are actually less of the online and the tech. And I know we can really get into this and really geek out about it. And I actually want to get into tactics because I think too many podcast episodes out there stay high in the motivational clouds. Yeah. But it really is relationships like this. I was borderline spacing when you were talking about this because man, it was a few years where the tables were reversed. I was getting to interview you. I think we even did a different Zoom one as well in one of the groups. And it's fun. It's, to me, I have no clue. You and I actually still haven't even shaken hands to this day.
No,
we're on opposite sides of the country, but it starts to feel like you build these real, genuine relationships where when I do see a lot of these people at events or, crossing paths in one way or another, it feels like I've, been friends with some of these people for actually years. And that's something I've never really experienced before in terms of at scale with people who align with the things you're into, whether that be real estate, videos, family, investing, all the above. But it kind of, the whole vibe attracts your tribe. That's been one of the coolest things for me is the friendships, the relationships, that have come up.
And don't you think, I know this is what we're talking about. It's really those first steps, just like with exercise. If you want to, lose X amount of weight, the first day, maybe you're just going to take 20 steps, then 40 steps. And with video, you have to get a few up there and just not cringe all day to know that it's okay.
Yeah, there's a few or maybe even a handful of kind of ideas, or I like to call them sort of buckets of content that because I promise tactics, I'd love to rattle those off because anyone listening might just be okay, well then what? What? That's always kind of the next question. Well then what to post? And so some that I found, the first one you actually mentioned, I call it the vodcast kind of pillar. We're doing this now, right? So before I wasn't comfortable looking at the camera or coming up with things to say, but I loved having conversations with people. And so I was recording on Zoom back in the day. I was recording on Instagram Live. I've tried everything, StreamYard to LinkedIn, all these different things. And just then going and clipping those little moments where we had a 30-second exchange that was insightful or funny or inspiring. And so that's one strategy. So maybe you're comfortable interviewing other people. But another one is actually scripting and your education type reels. So 20 seconds, 30 seconds. This is kind of the problem. Yeah. And then this is maybe a whole nother podcast interview, but doing this in a way that has a strong hook, a compelling reason to watch, not a generic, here's the San Diego market update, of the month and for the numbers. It's hard to make something, strong if it doesn't have a grabby hook. So those are a couple ideas. And then, I've seen even third ones are maybe even just coming up with, sort of skits and humor and sarcastic stuff that's about your world. But anything that kind of fits whether you're more factual and data, whether you're more feelings and storytelling. That's one of my favorite actually that I'm leaning into right now is even just saying this, I recently did a video about a post in Florida. I've never even been there, but it was about a real estate development that's happening and this guy that lived nearby. And so just sometimes telling a story in 30 seconds is also a good piece of content. So pick a lane and then just hammer that for a while is kind of my initial advice. So one of the first things that I think make it a strong standard are, again, your voice, your face, your vibe. So I do think, again, you can get 2 out of the 3, 1 out of the 3, but ideally 3 out of the 3 is when people really start to develop that parasocial relationship, start to really connect with you. They feel like they know you, that feeling you described earlier.
Oh wait, sorry,
And then,
but let me just interrupt. That's the parasocial. It's the feel like I know you, and those are always the people who, when they finally meet you, they say like, "Oh, you're just like you were," and you're like, "Do I know you?" And they're like, "No."
yeah.
Then I feel like I know you. That's a great way. I mean, come on, no like trust. You're doing it with video, and you don't even know it. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. No, you nailed it. So going into a couple, a little bit deeper. So think show and tell. This is a good way for us to divide it into like two categories here. So the tell would be like the education, the authority, the teaching. Here's what $1 million buys you in San Diego. Here are the 3 best taco shops here in San Diego. Here's how you can invest in this type of condo by using, your own home equity, or, you can do all these. That's telling, that's educating. And so the second thing that a realtor would be doing in the show category would be like showing what it's like behind the scenes to work with me. This is me with a client looking at a home at a coastal property. Look how awesome the view is. This is us signing the papers. This is how easy the process was. This is what it's like to work with me. So kind of not so much teaching them or telling them, but showing them the process of a customer. I mean, I'll just, in my own business, I had this video where it was behind the scenes with a client, and it was just kind of a video shoot, a couple transitions, a couple clips, some music, and some like you said, voiceover. I almost didn't post it because I was like, this seems kind of boring. I just feel like it's a commercial that's promoting me. I want to be careful of selling versus like truly giving as much value as I can. And it ended up getting like more shares than my average video, but what was weird is it was private shares. So it meant it was people that were sending it to someone saying, hey, this is what it's like, or this is what I think it'd be like. We're thinking about it. We're developing the parasocial relationship. Here's what it's like to their partner. And then when I spoke to a couple of people, they were like, yeah, we liked you. We liked your business. We just weren't totally sure what the whole like process was. And then we saw it and we're like, okay, that's what we want to jump into. So I think showing people is a great category. And then telling people is another way ultimately to kind of button this up, what we're doing is we're trying to build trust, like especially, I think in real estate, I keep saying this, a 6-7 figure transaction, like you're building trust with people. And so you just have to accumulate these moments of building trust. And maybe that is aligning with you on, hey, you've got 4 kids, I've got 4 kids, now I kind of trust you a little more. Or, I saw that you're a huge Tesla fan. I'm a huge Tesla investor. This is something that we can geek out on. So it's all these little things add up to a certain amount of trust to where then someone is able to, go take that action or that call to action to buy or sell when the time is right.
Yeah, we were talking about like the insecurity for some agents, a lot of agents, to get on video, but I think there's a couple things now that are easy. One, voiceover tours. You don't even have to be on the video.
Yep.
Just take a nice tour and do a voiceover. That's a great like way in without putting yourself out there. Or maybe like you're in it for a second. Like when I'm doing house tours, I'll shoot myself off the mirror for a second while I'm going, and then I'm just going to do a voiceover later. Like that's a soft way in. And then also, I love green screen. I know technologically it's a challenge for some, but like green screen is a great way where, again, like you said in the interview part, like you're kind of distracted by the other person. So you're not as focused as like, oh, I'm recording myself, this is awkward. But green screen, I feel like you're looking at what's behind you and talking about it. Like you said, your storytelling on the article, those are really great. I think that green screen is a great way for people to get adjusted because it's like a softball. Hey, here's something to talk about. It's right behind me. Do it technologically. They just have to figure it out. Do you like both of those for people who are trying to get in?
I do. Green screen, here's a real softball for anyone in any market on green screen that could do today from their chair without moving. So you go to any website, your own MLS, your own website, whatever, and click on like $1 million home in your neighborhood or whatever kind of the target price point is you want to speak to buyers. And click on a property that's just down the street and then screen record your own phone as you scroll through some of these photos, as you scroll through the facts and figures and all that, and just do a 30-second screen recording and then layer and inside Instagram. So just to be clear with some people, if they're not used to this, you don't need an actual green anything. You don't need a green wall or a green sheet. Yeah, like because I mean, to be fair, like just I don't know, maybe even just a few years ago you did, but
movies, yeah, sure,
if you want to be like crispy, like $1 billion budget, you're gonna use stuff like that. But Instagram has like an actual just button that's like green filter or green screen, and then you can then upload from your camera roll that screen recording that I just talked about. And so now you're standing aside, just like you said, little visual aid saying, here's what $1 million buys you in San Diego. Look at this kitchen. I love this kitchen. I hate this kitchen. Look at the backyard view. It's amazing. So you kind of more or less do a mini home tour from your living room couch. And I've seen people hammer that stuff. So green screen. And then what was the other video type that you mentioned? That was a great idea.
Voiceover walkthroughs. Yeah, just because I feel like that's a soft way in.
It is. And it's a great way because exactly like you said, people have different insecurities, and like I think the standard everyone ideally wants to get to, because this maybe will lead to that second point we talked about, is where I think you start to get business inbound, is when your voice, your face, and your vibe is showing up. So if you do, I like the video tour of a home where you voice over, or like day in the life behind the scenes, and you're kind of like, your point of view talking about it. I think that stuff can do well. It gets your vibe and your voice. But I do think eventually people are going to want to see your face to some degree to trust you to do a 7-figure transaction. And, maybe not, like not every time, but I think that's these are all factors that can help you.